drugs and video games haven't exactly had a regular relationship, probably more of a fling.
Still, we've endeavored to compile a few dirty little gems that should keep you up all night.
Well, we've seen this one before. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We join our hero again, now desperately trying to chill out with a fat spliff, following a long sesh with some Class A drugs. But paranoia tightens its grip as he spirals into a long night of cold sweats.
The Victorian arts and literature scene was way ahead of the hippies on the dodgy substances front. Alice had her looking glass and she used it for a lot more than cutting up lines. She got herself into trippy 60s chart hit White Rabbit, and now a psychedelic video game simply entitled Alice.
Few drugs references in video games are out and out explicit. Titles like Wipeout, with its big E and its high BPM clubbing soundtrack, are alleged to associate themselves with modern drugs culture.
Over the years, hardcore Pac-Man fans have lost their grasp of reason, claiming that Pac-Man's pill-popping for power-ups have made him the ultimate mascot of the E generation. They fought long and hard against Sonic's seemingly easy ride to power.
Sonic is, of course, Sega's high-energy hedgehog, whose likeness has been stamped on millions of synthetic little pills.
It seems all you gotta do is get really famous and someone will be there insinuating drugs into your past. How long is it gonna be before we hear Lara cry, "Oh, but I didn't inhale"?
Oi! Oi! If it's a kosher mind-altering substance you're after, then look no further, because this next drug of choice won't have you necking, swallowing, downing, or even ingesting it. Because this shit's a game. It's called Endorphin. Yawn, I hear you say. Well, yes, it is a pretty shite puzzle game, but in 1995, Endorphin infiltrated the personal computer, bringing with it a sinister threat to the population. Subliminal messages, man. These messages were knowingly placed into the soundtrack just below audible level. We've isolated the track and are horrified by the results. Be warned, you're about to listen to a piece of music with subliminal lyrics. If you don't want to subject yourself to this, then turn the volume down now.
I feel joyful now.
I love being alive. I can do anything.
Allegedly, the subliminal messages produce an endorphin rush in the brain, pleasing the gamer, regardless of the game's apparent monotony. It was pulled.
Joyful now.
Without music, this game is dull, dull, dull. With music, you're subconsciously encouraged to play more, have fun. The web is heaving with fan pages of the converted.
Don't forget, there's also the Bits website at www.forlater.com/bits, where you can peruse yet more info on all of this dodgy shit at your leisure.
And you can vote for the Millennium Top 50 games of all time. This is your chance to make a little piece of gaming history. We'll broadcast the chart on the show at Christmas.
Right then, it's back into the vault for more bits they didn't want you to see.
Now, what happens when you combine a very powerful game with a very powerful drug? Well, you get the ultra-culty, ultra-subversive, ultra-unofficial take on Doom, Doom Legalize It.
Doom is an extremely popular first-person shooter. Some claim it is the original first-person shooter. So what better game to hijack in the name of political freedom? Taking full liberties, hackers have tapped into the game code and restyled some levels of the game.
In Doom Legalize It, death camps are now populated with cannabis users. As one of these, your mission is to plow your way through classic anti-drugs advocates, taking bong hits to up your armor and health.
The publishers of the true and original Doom are keen to distance themselves from this illegal adaptation of their game, but are unable to stop its distribution on the internet. And yet, Doom Legalize It could hardly be described as a druggy experience. It's still just good old-fashioned kill, kill, kill.
No one's quite got the whole drug thing right, which is probably why these games have suffered the least amount of criticism from concerned parents.
Which is not what you can say for video game violence.
After the break, we'll be going deeper into the vault with the computer game's answer to the video nasty.
Pull out the Lassie videos now.
And as for the rest of us, well, let's take a look at some of the violent bits they didn't want you to see.
Violence, a social perversion or a deeply rooted instinct.
Sexually fueled aggression?
Drug-induced mayhem.
Or perhaps just a colourful way to pass the time.
Regardless, the computer games industry would be significantly lighter in the pocket if Bob didn't hate Joe and Peter didn't get his kicks out of spreading around little napalm.
It's hard to believe today, but even the earliest computer games, including Space Invaders and Super Mario Brothers, were blamed by MPs for aggressive, addictive behaviour.
Little did they know what lurked around the corner.
Mortal Kombat was the ultimate scapegoat for the anti-game brigade. Considered violent even for a beat-em-up, deemed too disgusting for the arcades, it became notorious as the first humanoid fight fest to feature blood.
Needless to say, the under-18s flocked to the coin-ops.
It all looks pretty tame these days when you consider games like Soldier of Fortune and Kingpin. Soldier of Fortune is a truly stomach-churning first-person shooter, which just falls short of bringing post-traumatic stress disorder home to the player.
Not only is there long-distance gunning, but up-close and personal slicing and dicing hacks off more than has ever been hacked off before.
It caused such a stir that it was banned in Canada.
Oh, Canada.
With the popular press calling for so many violent video games to be banned, the team behind Kingpin had to be a little bit more shrewd about getting through those censors.
Kingpin is one of the bloodiest games ever created, replete with strong language and extreme violence.
And what's all the commotion?
I'll tell you right now, they'll tear you up.
Terrified that all their hard work would result in an outright ban, the creators employed a team of porn promoters to handle the game's PR.
Who the fuck is the guy?
This Gangland Nasty was actually kept very quiet to ensure no bad pre-release publicity. They then submitted the game to the British Board of Film Classification requesting an 18-only rating.
Without any outside pressure from the tabloid press, the Kingpin camp were confident that their game would be released to critical acclaim. The plan worked, and Kingpin received an 18 rating with no cuts made.